Let's talk a little bit more about manna from heaven in Exodus chapter 16. I just want to look at 2 verses today, 20 and 21. It says, but some of them didn't listen and kept some of it until morning. Because remember what they were doing. They collected the manna and then they baked it into cakes, right? Like it was, baked in little cakes, and it was a very sweet tasting bread. It said it tasted like honey is the description of it. So some of them didn't listen and tried to keep some of the cakes until morning. And it continues in verse 20. But by then it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell, and Moses was very angry with them. After this, the people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to its need. And as the sun became hot, the flakes they had not picked up melted and disappeared. Can you imagine some of them didn't listen? Imagine that. They heard God's command. They knew God's command, yet for some reason they said, forget God's command. We'll do whatever we want to do. We're no different, right? Humanity has not changed in these thousands of years. I mean, we're a little fancier. We drive cars and we have the internet, but we're just as stubborn when it comes to following God. So in trying to do this, they get the fruit of their labor, right? It's rotten, it has maggots in it, and it stinks. So you can't keep this stuff. So after the bad experience, they finally obey. Because it says, verse 21, after this, people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to his need. So after being burned, after having this all go awry on them, finally they decide, well, I guess we might as well listen because it's just going to be rotten. I mean, it's amazing to see these people just willfully disobey God, and they just had to have the bad experience of disobedience, and so do we. So many times we have to deal with the consequences of our sins before we ever decide to stop the sin. We're stubborn. We're exactly the same. And an interesting piece happens in the last sentence, verse 21. It says, and as the sun became hot, the flakes they had not picked up melted and disappeared. So it had to be gathered and prepared early in the morning. And this is gracious on God's part because it gets them up, it gets them motivated, it gets them doing something. We need purpose. We need purpose in life. And one of the purposes they're going to have during this 40 years is to prepare food, collect, provide for themselves, provide for their families. So you couldn't gather more and you couldn't keep it after you baked it. So God is once again, that's the theme of this chapter, God is once again forcing them into obedience, and he's forcing them into trusting him. We should be the same way. Have a great day.